Alright, what's happening next, kids? I'll try and make this one a quick one. It probably won't be. Here's my proof of certificate and try not to dox my shit too hard. Ooh, you can kind of see the reflection, but that's not too bad. So, I was able... So that took about 3 years, right? And it's the equivalent of a master's as well, in some other degrees. But basically a master's is just like, it focuses on purely accounting. So you can, yeah, take that for what it's worth. As you can see, I'm your resident Maga right-wing white supremacist, you know, South Korean Australian, you know, pretty straightforward stuff, yeah? Go Twitter, go Elon. But I'll cover some more serious stuff. Now, it relates to Hex because I thought I do have to do a stream before the rates are released, because I thought there's no point making a stream saying, oh, I called it after it happened, because anyone can do that. So I thought what I might do is basically inform you all. Basically, I had spent some time doing some research, you know, as most trained accountants do. Mind you, for free, because, you know, when accountants get bored, we get bored. Now, I was able to find, I guess, officially, the rates are going to raise in the US by 0.75%. Now, that's through research. You can do it too. What you probably don't think about at the moment is what a rate's going to do on December the 14th. Well, maybe. Looks like they're set to rise by 0.5%, you know? And then you got 2 more rates after that, February 1st and March 22nd. Now, my research indicates 0.5%, followed by 0.5% again. That would leave the rate at 5.5% as of March 22nd, 2023, people. And will Pulse Chain be out, but then who knows? Who knows? The funny thing, before I go into SPARS Chapter 6, is this. The Executive Order 14067, ensuring responsible development of digital assets, right? Doesn't that just sound marvelous? It was brought to you by President Biden, the same one behind the Afghanistan policy, the China policy, the Ukraine policy, and the oil policy. And we can see, of course, inflation and what that is doing. So, of course, the first thing a responsible person does is go to Snopes, because, you know, Snopes know everything, right? If you're not on Snopes, then it's just fake information, right? Straight up. Now have a look. No executive order executive order 14067 won't replace US dollar with trackable Biden bucks, because, you know, that's what Snopes says. Now, if you actually look into the research, what is suggested by that particular outlet, it explains here. The Paradigm Press story basically alludes to that executive order lays the foundation for a central bank digital currency to be developed, researched, and rolled out. Now, specifically because that executive order doesn't state that the central bank digital currency will be instated and it will be trackable and it will be used for a control mechanism upon the masses. That is why, according to Snopes, reportedly, it is false. Now, so what I thought I would do is go back and have a look at some pieces of information that may be relevant to this, and then allow you to make your own informed decision instead of telling you what to do, instead of telling you what to think, you know, like some articles might do, like Snopes, for example. Because if you don't understand what you're reading, you don't understand the context of it, it's very hard to come to an informed decision. Now, here we have MIT Media Lab Digital Currency Initiative. Now, through my research, basically it suggested that the central bank digital currency is being researched and it is trying to be rolled out a lot quicker than initially thought. We see this executive order. We see other countries around the world definitely leaning towards the central bank digital currency and all the controls that go along with it, being a positive for them. And then we go back and have a look and go, okay, what's actually going on? You know, it's not conspiracy, it's what is actually going on. What can we tangibly see? Is it just, you know, hearsay? Or is there, oh look, MIT is openly working on a central bank digital currency, right? So we have this here. So I'll put a link in the bottom as well. We also have on top of that, so research is being conducted on a central bank digital currency, and there's a thing called Gait Recognition. So what that means is not only can cameras have the ability to recognize, you know, your eyeballs, your face, etc. It can also recognize the way you walk. So you have CCTV everywhere. You have cameras that can pick up audio. You have the ability to track and trace someone through the way they walk. So you think you can cover your face with a hat or glasses and a face mask or something like that, but can you change the way you walk? Now, we've got the dog trying to break in the door. I can hear it. Hopefully it doesn't happen on this stream. We've got the China social credit system explained, what it is and how does it work. I'll put a link. Basically, you can go through, have a look. This is not conspiracy. You have a look at the articles, the drones, the social credit score apps used, the lockdowns, etc. I'll show some of this, but this is not conspiracy. This is actually what is happening. Now, we then have an article explaining China's social credit system ranks citizens and punishes them with throttled internet speeds and flight bans if the Communist Party deems them untrustworthy. So a social credit system rolled out with a means to stop you from spending your money how you see fit makes it a lot easier for you to be controlled. If the government can impose a central bank digital currency or Biden bucks upon the US, and once the US, in this case, it's not actually leading, but if the US does implement it, most probably countries like Australia and other countries in the West will follow. Funnily enough, we'll be following the Communist Chinese Party regime, among a few. Now, you could say that is conspiracy because there's no, I guess, well, there is tangible evidence that's been researched, it's being rolled out in other countries. You could say it's incompetence from our government because they might decide that it's best for us. Because we have a look here that Canada says it will freeze the bank accounts of Freedom Convoy truckers who continue their anti-vaccine mandate blockades. Now, this was back in February 2022. This article was written, but when that took place, we all were aware of the tyrannical government and basically what it did. Imagine, I mean, we've probably already all thought about this, but imagine from a control point of view what this could mean if we didn't have cash, if we didn't have an ability to bypass these tyrannical government decisions. If a central bank digital currency was in place, doing this would have been so easy. It could have shut down the truckers' ability to use their phones, their internet, potentially, and shut down their ability to spend. Because if the payment system, which is the central bank digital currency, was rolled out on their phones and that's how they transacted, you kill that, what can you do? Now, this was funny. Now, AOC says inflation isn't the government's fault, so monetary policy has nothing to do. The decisions by the US regarding Afghanistan, China, Ukraine, and the oil reserves have nothing to do with the government. It's not their fault. I could play it, but I'll put a link in and you can have a look for yourself. Now, this one, we've got America's top doctor criticizes China for failing the world on COVID-19. 30th of October 2022. I haven't made a video stream for a little bit because there's been a lot going on. I've been doing some research in the background. Now, it's a little bit too late if you ask me, but it's better late than never. I'll give that to him. But if you said this, you know, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, banned, censored, blackholed, never to be seen again on social media, on any platform. Maybe you have your bank account shut down. Maybe you get put on some crazy loonbird list. Who knows? But now, we have Dr. Fauci himself opens up, you know? This was a couple of days ago. We had Ukraine war, Russia halts grain deal after massive Black Sea fleet attack. So basically, Ukraine is a source of a lot of grain. It then ships and feeds the rest of the world. Basically, when the halt is in place, some countries may well starve. Not even kidding. And since then, there's been more escalation. Pretty sure there's been missile strikes back. Now we've all seen this. Where is it? I won't play the sound, but yeah, quarantine camp. They had these in Australia. Not sure what states, but they did have them. The hotel quarantine lockdown. Does this look familiar? Anyway. We then have this. Can we even play this? I'll play it. Why not, eh?
And I certainly wouldn't like to contradict the American Medical Association there. Not on this platform. The bill says doctors have a duty to provide their patients with accurate, science-based information. That would include the use of improved vaccines. Science-based information. Science-based information. None of us have got any problem with science-based information. Like this.
You know, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
But the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
You want to be a dead end to the virus. So when the virus gets to you, you stop it.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccines.
That's what they said. That's why it all plays out just as Spa said. Now this is a bit weird, this one. Shifting gears a fair bit. Moving away from central bank digital currencies, tyrannical governments, forced medical treatments in some instances, censorship on a global scale. This is more US-based politics. Reportedly, Pelosi attacker suspect was psychotic homeless addict, estranged from his nudist lover and their children. Okay, right. I'm not even going to say any more on that. I mean, you can have a look at the stuff going on Twitter. You can have a look on what's being said. It's up to you to come up with your decision. But thankfully, I'd like to think some social media platforms are allowing some free speech back on, and it's not just censoring people straight off. It's allowing both sides to be heard, and it allows you to make your own informed decision. Like it always should have been. Like it always has been. But then governments decide, no, it's not. That we can just change the laws. We can just enforce this, enforce that, with no respect for the law. Now they're having to roll it all back. I tried to tell people when you are due to get a medical procedure done, you have to provide informed consent, you know? Not legal advice. A child can't provide consent on themselves. It's not informed consent, you know? Simple. An adult has to make an informed decision. Here we go. Twitter. So there's a board being formed and nothing has changed on Twitter yet, but some people are saying a lot more stuff that they were too scared to say previously. Then lo and behold, later on, some accounts were getting banned. So it's almost like a trap, you know? So far. Now, this here explains that Trump was wrong about so many ways about that. Here's the studies, here's the facts. Same person, flipped around later. Study finds, you know, that it helped survival. Now, switching gears into, we have the ATO. And they, again, not financial advice, not legal advice. Do your own research. Staking rewards and airdrops, right? So this is their guidance. I vaguely call this guidance because I see no reference to any laws. It's basically a website that says we guide this way, and lo and behold, they do have staking and the role of forges. Now, yeah, what do I say about this? Basically, they're take into account staking and the role of forges. So something like, I don't know, Ethereum, and you put your ETH together, helps secure the network, and because you've done that, you basically get a payment back, another cryptocurrency paid back to you for doing that. You're a forger, you're a proof of stake mechanism. They still don't address contract, product, or contract function like I think they need to. Maybe eventually they'll get there, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was interesting. They basically differentiate between an airdrop, differentiate between an airdrop that's being dropped to a new group of holders as like a promotional thing to provide tokens to people who, hopefully take up the tokens and use them. It then explains a lot of other things on this website, which is useful, but from my analysis, they're not quite covering everything just yet. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll put a link in the bottom. Kind of cool about the airdrop thing, but again, different to the US, different to other countries, depending on your jurisdiction. But when you get a fork, basically it's treated as a fork. You don't have to pay any capital gains, nothing, until you sell it. I'm pretty sure the cap cost base will be 0, at which point then you have to pay capital gains. But yeah, so that's kind of cool for Pulse Chain if you're in Australia. Again, not legal advice, not tax advice. Check it out for yourself. Yeah. Do an accounting degree, perform your own analysis. I don't know. This is funny, man. Elon Musk just received this email from Twitter. It's an actual email. So, I don't know if you ever worked at a place you have to do like mandatory learning. Looks like Twitter for the chief twit basically gets an email or AI generated, and you have to do your own, do your own course to become the manager of Twitter. Lol. This is pretty cool, I think. Shifting gears back to Elon Musk, saying he's going to look into election censorship on Twitter. So if you are engaging in like censorship of either side regarding politics, I'm not sure. Personally, I don't think that's fair, because if you're censoring one, you should censor them all. If you individually pick one side or another, then theoretically, you're picking sides in an election. Maybe you need to disclose that to your shareholders. Maybe you need to disclose that to everyone. That's your particular policy. That's what you're doing. Again, it's all about knowing. It's not about the conspiracy side behind it. It's about knowing what's happening, what's being withheld from us. Now, if you're like a company and it's your business to sell particular items and you've got a whole batch of defective items, you might want to be telling people that, because otherwise, that could come back on you. Anyway. This one. This is I'm going to add. Dr. Fauci addresses China lab theory. So 2 years ago, it was taboo to say that it was the Wu flu, or maybe it might have linked from air conditioning vents in China. More recently, we saw an article saying, it might have come from China. It might have been, being worked on in a gain-of-function lab, and then where does that rabbit hole go again? Not conspiracy, simply facts that were withheld from the public, and for whatever reason, no one was allowed to talk about it, especially not on Twitter. People got banned for that, outright. People will still get banned on YouTube, outright. Here we go. Backing up a theory regarding around 5% by March. The Goldman Sachs expects the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates as high as 5% by March 2023. There you go. Beware. So this is probably good for everyone who thinks that they're fighting something. I do it myself, Think about, beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you. Think about that one. Do you want to become the furries we all warned about? Oh, that one got deleted. Interesting. That's self-explanatory. I've had so much fun on Twitter. Seeing all the memes, seeing all the stuff being posted. Yeah. It's good fun now. I'm hoping Elon does make Twitter fun and allows you to question. Now, I wonder if that tweet was the one where Elon was pushing back on Hillary Clinton, saying maybe there's something more to the story regarding the naked hammer-wielding person in some US political house, reportedly. Like, that's the amount of understanding I have on that. Now, back to the economy. We have what is disinflation, right? So as the rates continue to increase, it's a really weird place, because what could happen, what's projected to take place, but no one knows when, is disinflation. So I thought, well, pull up Investopedia, knowing that the rates are going to be raised on November 2nd, knowing that rates are going to be raised on December 14, probably Feb 1st, probably March 22nd. As this all takes place, the economy, when is it going to kick into disinflation? So maybe understand what disinflation is. Disinflation, a temporary slowing of the pace of the price inflation, and is used to describe instances where the inflation rate has reduced marginally over the short term. So it's going to get crazy. Don't know when. Most likely, it is forecasted or projected that maybe cryptocurrency will take a hit once the rates keep rising, you know, as the risk on assets are affected. But this is my take, because I could be wrong here. Actually, I'll wind that back. As this takes place, the economy is probably going to go into a huge sort of reversal, we could call it. We'll see the market start to drop across the board in relation to equities, possibly cryptocurrencies generally. Now, there is some opportunities to make some money off of equities as they go down. If you want to look into that, look into Biden bucks, do your research there. That'll lead you to some other stuff and lead you to some other stuff. Now, cryptocurrency specifically, if this all does play out as it's forecast to possibly play out, an unknown disinflation would projected to kick in. If cryptocurrencies, you know, the 11K and prey, if that does take place, where will HEX be positioned? Where will the derivatives be positioned? There is a possibility that I can see that HEX could basically decorrelate. Now, we saw for months and months and months HEX sitting at around that 3 cent mark, HEX the stable, you know. And what could happen if everything starts insanely dropping off? Maybe there's some sellers in HEX, I don't know, maybe they've already sold, or maybe it stays where it is. When that takes place, if we see 11K in prey and everything else just dropping off a cliff, equities as well, HEX is going to at that point become decorrelated quite substantially, I think, and also provide pretty strong yield. You look in the equities market and, you know, 10,000 X's are basically almost never heard of. We saw what HEX has done. We have seen what a few others have done. But generally speaking, if you can find an asset that provides yield on itself, that also provides insane gains, you're probably not going to find a better asset out there. Now, I have gone down the whole equities and stuff like that, but I got to the point where I honestly don't believe that's the play. I honestly think cryptocurrency is the play, but not, you know, maybe Ethereum's and that, Bitcoin, you know, maybe. But if you understand HEX, you know, understand the code, how it works, understand the yield it can provide, understand what it's done previously, understand how transparent it is, it's a pretty damn good asset. Now, that's what I'm going to say about that. But in a time of disinflation, HEX might damn well come out king. But time will tell. Time will tell. Again, we might just be correlated and everything might just die all at once. Now, do you remember the longest time people telling you that coal is bad and save the environment and carbon's, all this stuff? Now, have a look at the energy wars currently going on in Europe, because where do they get the energy from? Where's it being cut off from, etc., etc. Now Germany's decided they need to reopen the coal-burning electricity because, you know, maybe the wind turbines and the batteries don't have the base load needed. I mean, I don't know if they've got nuclear, but yeah, it's kind of funny. Check Jim Ricard's out. He knows his stuff. Germany reopening coal-burning electricity, generating plants as fast as they can. Shh, don't tell Greta. How dare you? Remember her? Yeah. Don't give up your freedoms. Let's have a look. Has it got audio? Now, doesn't this look nice? Imagine you walk around the shops, you know, and you've got your QR code and you got your central bank digital currency in place, and you've got the Robocop scanning you, and oh, you've got a bit of a fever there. Oh, your status flips from green to yellow. You're sent back home. You can't leave the house for however many weeks, so you can't work. And yeah, you have to eat certain bugs. I don't know. That's a bit of a conspiracy. But here's the facts. This is what actually is taking place in China right now. Whether you believe this or not, it's up to you. Do your own research to confirm. Don't believe, validate. But yeah. If Biden bucks get rolled out, or central bank digital currencies get rolled out with the ability to track and trace everyone, it's going to get pretty messed up, I think. In terms of government might get out of control. Now, to add to that though, most people wouldn't want that because, I mean, I'm not based in the US. I don't understand the whole Democrat-Republican thing. I understand vaguely left and right. My understanding is, you know, the centre's sort of neutral. To the right, extreme freedoms. To the left, extreme. To the left would be supportive of this sort of tyrannical government control. You know, to the right, less government. To the left, more government. Stuff. That's my basic understanding. Now, I honestly don't think people really want this unless they're extremely to the left. But you can't tell me that you would. Like, you ask your, I don't know, your parents or your friends, would you like to be tracked and traced everywhere you go and have your currency digital so you can maybe purchase what you want, when you want, and how you want? I would assume most people would be like, nah, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that. Like, no. But for some reason, it seems to be this narrative leaking out there that this is good for us all. It seems to be coming from the top in some instances, you know, the Biden bucks. Like, honestly, shit is getting scary. Now, you have two choices. You can ignore or you can inform. Yeah, I choose to inform. Now, got this one. We've all seen this. I mean, don't mind the source. You can ignore if you want. But yeah, we've seen the footage of this. I've actually got, I don't know if you call them relatives in China. I haven't heard from them in a while, but they were having food delivered to them. Apparently the food quality was dropping off. Drones, like robots telling you where you can and can't go based on a computer system. Can you see the dehumanization of humanity unfolding right in front of our eyes? Drones dropping off drones. Again, is this a conspiracy? You know, the robot takeover or something, or is it this is being used by governments abroad and could be used against us in, I guess, in the West, or you know, it's not allied countries, maybe the West. You know, the first world countries. We got the social credit score. You can travel. Note the camera. It's like scanning your face. tracking everywhere you go. No, here's this one. The robot dropping off another robot that could be armed. It looks like it's armed. How much of this is propaganda pushed by the Chinese Communist Party themselves, or how much of this is actually leaked out? You know, need to verify. This kind of bugged me out a bit. Like, if listen to the happy music, like, that's not happy, man. That's jail. You're trapped, locked down, and you got a dog box, and they're giving you food through a kid, and the kid's all happy because the food arrived. Yay! Like, if this happens to humanity, and we end up in something like that, when you have children, the children are not going to know any different. They're going to think this is normal. Look at the stuff now. I used to do surveys, and they would ask you, you know, male, female. Are you male, female? Now it's like, are you male, female? What else do you identify? Like, there's some other category. I can't even think what it is, but that's become the normal in asking someone a question. Now, call me crazy, but I thought there was only, you know, male or female. Anyway. Now, this is an interesting one again. Back in June 2021, Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming. Now, digital cash could be programmed to ensure it's only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible. Now, we've got the same policy, similar policy here in Australia. I think no jab, no pay. I think that was for for flu jabs or something like that. If you're receiving government benefits, and you did not have your vaccinations up to date, then you would not receive your money, and you could not get benefits to have your children looked after or buy food, as much food, because you would get less of a payment. Now, it's pretty damn scary when you say it like that, but then, you know, you present it on the other side, and it's like, oh, it's reasonable because the person really should be doing those things because it's the right thing to do. But then it's like, presented by who and why? And what's the logic behind it? Then if you question that, you get called a crazy Lundberg conspiracy theorist, right-wing, extremist, racist. Like, I hope we can shift this narrative and just be like, no, there's two sides to every story. Let's openly discuss about them all. And please, can we, you know, not censor everyone into oblivion. Hopefully that's what this whole Twitter thing is, but again, it's just Twitter. It's not real life. If we get trapped in the ghettos, like Matt Drudge said, we're trapped in these social ghettos, we think we're free, and really we're no different to that kid who's being fed whatever we get fed by the algorithm, when you think about it. Now you have the Bank of England has called its minister to decide whether the central bank digital currency should be programmable, ultimately giving the issuer total control of That's my whole point. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, if you can force me to take a particular treatment, then you could force me to, what else could you force me to do? If you could force me to not go somewhere, what else can you force me to do? You're taking away my freedoms. And if you can force someone to give up all their cash, to give up all the other equivalents of cash, if you can censor the cash, if you can ban the cash, and then only have your digital currency, and then you can only spend it on what you want to spend it on, how much freedom have we got? We weren't born to consume. But now we're being told, you kind of were. And here's what you can consume. That's insane. I hope cryptocurrency is immune to this. But what if it's not? What do you do then? Now, I need to get to chapter 6 and close this one out. Now, Ukraine war. Power and water supply hit across Ukraine in massive Russian missile strikes. So now, is it de-escalating? Is it escalating? Like, it's, not good. Not good. And think about it. In a total state of chaos like this, what would you want? Okay, I got two things to talk about this. You've got, imagine if the power goes down, how are you going to use your central bank digital currency systems, A? Then also, before they could roll it out, how could you control the people in times of war? Well, you'd need a central bank digital currency. You need to be able to control everyone, assuming the power was on. So that's why I'm going with that. Now, we've got here pre-Elon, post-Elon. I'll read this one quickly. I'll get my face out the way. Pre-Elon. If you don't like it, then go make your own Twitter. Post-Elon. It's impossible to make our own Twitter. Twitter under ownership of Elon must abide by our hate speech rules. Shit. Okay. Yeah, I won't read the rest of them. I'll put a link in. And today, first Tuesday of the month, RBA meets. They talk about rates. They raised it again. So again, I repeat, rates will be risen in the US on November 2nd by 0.75%. And my research indicates that rates will be risen by 0.5 on December 14, 0.5 February 1st, and 0.5 by March 22nd. The last two aren't as certain, I guess you would say, because, you know, things can happen between then. But I mean, November 2nd, a day or two away. December, a month or two away. What's going to change? Really? Now, I'm going to move on to the grass is always greener. And we've got the grass is always greener. Chapter 6. As confidence in Calicovir continue to deteriorate across the United States, the United Kingdom and the European Union jointly announced authorization for another antiviral treatment in early March 2026. I laugh because I don't know if you're noticing or following, but this has strong similarities to what actually took place. The UK Medicines and Healthcare Providers and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency and the European Medicines Agency authorized the emergency use of a new antiviral, VMAX, to treat SPARS. VMAX had been considered in the US a trial drug conducted. But a drug trial conducted at the beginning of the SPARS outbreak did not show evidence of efficacy. Despite the authorization and promotion of VMAX in Europe, the FDA, CDC, and other US governmental agencies opted to focus their efforts on supplying and distributing Calicovir and developing a vaccine based on the GMI model. Here we go, some posts. Can you read that? Oh, clear as day. Damn. It's funny though. It actually includes like tweets that would have been tweeted out, and they're very similar. Social media posts from the United Kingdom and several European countries alerted many individuals in the United States to the existence and purported benefits of VMAX. The authorization announcement was also distributed via all major American media outlets and quickly spread via social media. And then on this tweet I was trying to show it, so it shows like an example of the EU Medicines Agency authorized today the use of VMAX antiviral for SPARS, better safety profile than Calicovir, equally effective. So basically it's like a battle between messages being pushed out. Which one's better, VMAX or Calicovir? Remember, I think it was, from memory, Moderna, Pfizer, and there was another one, AstraZeneca. But yeah, so then there was all different talking points about those things. But yeah. So, back to the book. Page 23. As Europeans began receiving VMAX, they reported their outcomes, good and bad, on a number of social media platforms. The persistent social media buzz around the pandemic ensured that public anxiety remained high, even though the incidence of new SPARS cases had begun to taper off. While the efficacy and side effects posts regarding VMAX were largely similar to those for Calicovir in the US, and some Americans sought to order prescriptions of VMAX online, and others traveled to Europe to obtain the drug. So it was like in this instance, a difficulty to keep the one talking point in place and trying to convince people that, I don't know, the Calicovir was better than the VMAX. yeah, I'll just read it out. It's got like, finally getting over spars thanks to my VMAX, felt better in a matter of hours. Didn't boke or nothing. I have no idea what says that, boke. Okay, and then this one's got VMAX is useless. So like, you know, competing Twitter social media narratives. Still sick with spars. Plus, I'm doing unthinkable things in the toilet. Well done. And it's got, you know, them ripping on VMAX basically. So I was like, the battle of the fictitious treatments of the spars. But yeah. Now that's a quick one, so I can wrap this up soon. Chapter 6 basically says, communication dilemma, responding to demand for an alternate drug not available in the United States. Food for thought, you know. It's got like 1. How might pre-tested messages comparing US and foreign MCM review processes have enabled the US FDA and US CDC to support the USG decision to promote Caligavir as the antiviral of choice? So they're trying to figure out how to, you know, how to message effectively, basically. And then 2, what responsibility, if any, does the FDA have to advise Americans to avoid using VMAX? How can FDA and other public health entities best support the public when making informed MCM choices to protect their health? Okay. How should local public health and healthcare providers address patients' questions about the risks and benefits of foreign MCM, so they just absolutely lose control? All right, that's it. That is it. Chapter 7, next stream. Yeah, I haven't checked the chat. I'll check it now quickly. What's happening, Jerry? Finbear? When do you think Aussie CBDC will roll out? When it's ready, when the infrastructure's ready. When the infrastructure is ready for all the rest of the world, they're probably going to roll it out. Turkey is rolling out CBDC. Germany has banks that won't accept cash from December. It's happening. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's crazy. And this is not conspiracy like Bloomberg Conspiracy Central. This is just someone pointing this out. But for some reason, we're all too busy, you know, looking at I don't know, TV shows or something. I can't even think of a current TV show. Looks like missed whole of the stream. Not so good. I will put in timestamps. I did cover some stuff related to Hex, but most of it was basically rates, forecast, research, CBDC narratives, and how it sort of CBDCs rolls into it, and a lot of Twitter stuff. You know how Twitter, but again, Twitter's sort of like trapping us in there, you know, in their little ghetto. But maybe it's good. Basically, between deadly and really. Oh. Cheers. Yeah, cool. Alright, that's about it. That's all I got. Like I said, I thought I would do, I think I said this earlier, I thought I'm better do the stream before rates come out. Otherwise I can't go, yeah, I called it. So yeah, I'm calling it. Based on research, 0.75% rate increase in the US, November 2nd, December 14, another rate, 0.5%, Feb 1st, 0.5% again, March 22nd of March, again 0.5%. But the thing is, yeah, like I said before, it's disinflation. When's disinflation going to kick in? But it looks like the markets are going to probably, equities anyway, are going to start to reverse heavily, I'd probably say, because some indicators are flagging. But yeah, all right, peace everyone, signing out.